Oh, I'm still going live. I'm still going live. Come on. All right, now I'm live. All right, I'm busy posting the update to our website right at the moment, so give me just a few minutes. It's 7:51. We won't start for 9 minutes, so if you're catching the repeat of this video, you can definitely fast forward 9 minutes. So take a look and see if I've got everybody up and running at that point. All right, I think I got that done. Let's edit this page. Paste this in here. Paste. Hit return. Turn that orange. All right, that was a good day today. All right, update. We should be able to click on this and find us. Make sure to go in the right direction. It is. All right, so now I'm going to hit this. And everybody can come join us. 127 people. All right, so that's in the outbox, and now we will be able to play some guitar. Let's view that page. There's that. All right, everything's looking good there. Looks like I'm okay here. What other weird stuff do I have in the video that I don't need to have there? All right, so it's 7:52. For sure won't start for 8 more minutes. So fast forward if you're watching the review of this. Otherwise, we'll hang out and see if I can get this adjusted where it looks a little bit more like what we wanted to. First nighttime broadcast for guitars in the new studio. Let's see, how's that? Yeah, pretty good. Let's make sure the book here, my sheet music sits right in front. You can't tell I'm using it, right? Play guitar, and let's see, the song we're going to do is called Lean On Me Tough. Time to replace the battery on my tuner. When it starts telling you it's the perfect fifth or whatever you're trying to play, you know that battery's going bad. I replaced the strings on this earlier this week, and I put heavy strings here, 13s, on these lower strings, which I really like. They got a lot of life to them. Then I got these 3 things, which are super heavy, and I'm pretty sure I don't like them, so I may have to split cases and put one type of guitar string on the lower strings. I had these silver wound silken steel, I think they call them, on these 3, which I thought were wonderful. And these are 80/20 bronze, and they're just don't have a lot of life to them. So I have to change those up. See if our email went out to everybody. It did. How exciting. Okay. So hopefully we will get everybody in here shortly. we may not have anybody, right? Because we are getting sick of this. Oh, Fauci's pitch apparently didn't go well. Oh well, doggone it. All right, let's get that down. Let's see what else is going on. I'm gonna double check. Nobody sent me an email saying, "Oh my gosh, we're trying can't get in" or whatever. Let's see, Jennifer and okay. Nobody emailing me yet that they can't get in, so we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, let's go to my channel. Let's see what we got here. 465 subscribers. Yeah, nobody's going to do that. All right. All right. Well, what are you going to do? So we'll start in about 4 minutes. Make sure you have a copy of Lean on Me, the Tough Axe version. It was revised July 3rd. Christy put this one together. It's a real nice tune. And also, obviously, let me know if the sound is weird. I can always tell if the video is going fine, but I can never tell what the sound sounds like out there. And so, just let me know if you're having any problems with the sound, and we'll see if I can fix it. I probably can't fix it. Let's see. Hi, Vicky. Oh, the sound is good. Okay, Vicky's in, and the sound is good. Vicky, twice in 1 day for a guitar. Your fingers are going to fall off. The thing I like about the Thursday night session is it's one song. We go through it in ridiculous detail, and then we play it, and then we're done. So it's not quite as overwhelming as the 40 or 45-minute session we do earlier in the day. And I hopefully we'll all be able to walk out of here playing this pretty well. Yeah, my brain is tired too. I do fine clear up until Friday. Friday, about middle of the day on Friday, usually after the ukulele lesson on Friday, I am burned up. And so this the Friday afternoon guitar session is usually one I think about deleting afterwards. Like, God, you couldn't play anything. I don't know. I think your brain is on full blast until you're like, oh, yeah, in 1 hour I get to relax, and your brain goes and goes crazy. So yeah, crazy. But we're almost there. We're almost to crazy time. My wife and I live in Denver, and we have never been particularly outdoorsy. And then when Megan moved into town, our niece, she lives living with us, she decided she'd get us out and about. So she did. And so she got us riding bikes and doing evening walks and going for hikes in the mountains and this sort of thing. And so tomorrow, well, Megan has now moved out of town, and so it's just my wife and I. And I'm like, okay, fine, we can go back to being indoorsy. But we've decided we're going to go hike a 13er tomorrow, and so, or not tomorrow, Saturday. We're going to get up early Saturday, put a picnic together, and go out and climb a mountain. And so, who knows what will happen after that? So, I am actually kind of motivated for it. It should be kind of fun. All right, it's 8 o'clock. Vicki, you may be the only one here, and so that's perfectly fine. The widget says 1, okay, and so we know that's Vicki for sure. But they're guitar players; they show up late and leave early, sort of thing. So maybe they're coming, maybe they're not. Don't care. Don't. Doesn't matter. We'll approach this exactly the same way as we always do. And what I'd like to do is go through this thing measure by measure, talk about how a finger stylist would think about it and how to attack it, and what you can do to bring your own spin on things. And we've been playing this all week long, and we will play it for the last time probably ever tomorrow during the daytime class. And hopefully you are getting where some of the parts of it are making some sense, and where things are making those parts that aren't making sense, it's either because you're just not ready for that yet, or you just haven't asked the right questions or spent enough time on it, one of the two. So the first thing we're going to be doing is looking at, and I do want to go peek really quickly at, all right, let's see. I do want to peek very quickly and just make sure nobody's gotten stuck out there. It looks like we're fine. So what we're looking at now is, all right, the song is in D, so we for sure want to be good at that. And as always, we have the thumb possibility and the claw possibility, depending on what level you're at. If you are newer to fingerstyle chord melody type play, thumb is always going to be a great option because you get that big round sound out of your guitar. So the first three notes are 0, 2, 3. That's a D chord, and you can hear that ringing out, and that's exactly how we think of that song. Sometimes in our lives. And then the next two notes, 3, 0, 2, that's all really, really very easy to get along with. So the first measure is not a lot of work. Here's what I try to talk people into doing, having the least amount of work possible. Let me finish up measure 1. You should also then go back and try it with a claw. Okay, it's a different texture, it's a different feeling. It's harder to get the same volume out of it, but this skill set and this skill set are going to be everyday skill sets that you need to have them both. And so getting both of those down. When I practice a new tune, I go measure by measure. I'm very, very slow and methodical about it. I'm trying to gather. I would like to go through each measure one time at a deep level. And then once I have all of my notes on my paper and I have everything set up the way I want it, then I go on to the next measure and the next measure and so on. Now what I notice here is now I've got the fancy G chord. Christy's given us the fancy G chord, so I'm going to go pull from my D. I am not going to move this ring finger. I'm just going to pull these two guys up to that G and add my pinky. Now I have exactly what's on the paper, and I give a nice big rolling chord through that G chord. I'll let that ride. I just think it just sounds wonderful. A lot of times in fingerstyle, I'll add in some doodly-doos, but I don't think that it's necessary in this case. I think you come out of that D chord, give yourself that nice big G chord, let the guitar ring, and then you've got 3, 2, 0. Well, you're already on 3, so okay, so you don't need to move your pinky, and just use your ring finger for the 2 there. And then go right back to your D chord. Okay, and then we have 3, 0, and then unlike measure 1, we've added in a chord there at the end of the measure. So let's hit that. We all have SAR, and let that one ring a little bit more. Oh, and then you're gonna abandon your D chord to get to the A. Again, that's 2.5 beats there, so we're going to let that ride just a little bit. So let's go back and do 1 through 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nicely put together, really the works on the guitar. I think the thumb down does great. Now let's go back and just try clawing our way through it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, it's maybe not, I shortened the G chord. Super smart, okay? Super smart. You get to this big old G chord, Do you need the whole thing? No, you don't even need those two notes, right? So you could just cover these 2 3s, and that gives you just a lovely pop as well. I would say I don't always mean to shorten chords, but I do it all the time on accident because I'm playing along at a high rate of speed, and I got a big old chord sitting there, and I'm like, I don't need to do the whole thing, and I will do the last 4 strings, not on purpose. I don't consciously say, oh, do a bad job here, Gary. I just know that the melody is what matters when we're playing chord melody ukulele. God, more chord melody guitar. The melody is what matters, and so if we get in these deeper sounds, that's awesome. That's what we would like, but you don't have to. As long as you get that 3 in, it sounds great. And I do think in this case, doing both of those sounds really nice. So you could come out of this 3-0-2. Just lay that over just those, shorten the G chord. Is super smart plan, Vicky. I love it. All right, let's go on to measures 5 through 8 maybe. So measure 5 is identical to the first measure, so we don't need to spend any extra time working on that one. And then again, the same thing, that G above there. And then 3-2-0. And I notice I'm sitting on that 3, so I'm not moving that, but I do. My middle finger wants to be on 2 real bad, so I let it be on 2. And then the same thing as measure 3. 3-0, then that D chord. And here's where the difference is. We're going to go from, instead of D to A, now we're going to go to A to D. Now in measure 8, when you've got your A chord, you can either slide your ring finger up to get the 3, which is what I tend to do, or you can add your pinky and not move your A chord at all, which is maybe a little bit smarter, a little bit cleaner. And so I think both of those solutions are acceptable, and both would be successful. One may work better for you than the other, going from the A chord to the 3 and then get to the D chord. Fingerstyle players would say, all right, what's the least amount of work, right? A, put this here, and now you've got a problem because you've got this pinky hanging out there that you don't really want there. So sliding the ring finger up may be less work. And then these two guys can drop down to get your D chord. Okay. All right, so let's keep moving forward. Then you've got lean on, which is a different. So measure 8 is quite a bit different than 4. So that's a one we would just go through and double check we know what we're doing. 2-0. Okay. And sometimes guitarists text me rather than emailing me, and so I just want to make sure that's not from one of our people getting stuck. Oh, that's from Debbie. Debbie's my good buddy, and she's up in Creed, sitting in her cabin watching birds and wildlife walk through her front yard. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you? I'm glad you're here. All right, so 1, 2, and 3, and 5, 6, and 7 are all identical. Just the difference between measure 4 and measure 8. We just pay, as a musician, I think you just pay attention to the differences between measures, and also if you find two that are exactly the same, let's go ahead and know that since they're the same, we don't have to work on both of them. Once you worked on 1, 2, and 3, you've also worked on 5, 6, and 7. Cuts down on your practice time. Hey, I just got to practice this one set of measures. The next 3 are identical, so I don't need to spend any time on those. I'm going to move on, okay? So 8 is different than everything that came before it, so we spent a little bit of time just studying it, making sure you know which fingers you want to use. In this case, I'm probably going to go with A, ring, D, and then I've already got this on 2, 2, O, and then I'm going to keep that 2, D on through that whole section. Now at measure 9, a little bit of a difference, not a ton. D chord, and then 2, 2, O. Okay, so that'll work fine if you're clawing as well. And again, go grab your G chord, but don't move your ring finger. That's what that nice downstroke can do for you. And you've already got the 0 open, so play that. And the 3 you already have held down. And and this is a typo, just make sure you guys have marked it on your paper. Measure 10, instead of 302, it should be 320 all on the second string. So just make sure you've got that marked. It should be 0, 3, 2, 0, and then the D chord comes in. And go ahead and put a D chord on. I know it says 002, so you could get sloppy and just put a middle finger up there, but you're doing extra work you don't need to do there. At measure 11, just put the D chord on. And I recommended to Christy that she go ahead and use the A chord as the root there. Not because it's correct against the D chord. It's okay against the D chord. It's not great, but we needed something bigger, a little bit more oomph there. And so just by adding in that fifth string, you get a little more energy there. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend, right? So we want a little bit extra oomph through that one moment there. And then you've got 302. And again, we're not moving the D chord if we don't have to. So the only thing you're moving is that one middle finger. And then you got a regular D chord at 12. That's the same exact thing that happened at measure 4. So now we see that those two measures are the same, even though 8 was a little bit different. And where the difference is a little bit, not a lot, but in the melody that's rolling through measures 9, 10, and 11, it's enough different from measures 1 through 3 that we're going to have to pay attention to them and really study those just a tiny bit more than the others. Okay? All right, let's move on to measure, what am I on, 13? Somewhere I have my light for my music stand. I'll put that up here. See if I can get some light on this so I can see what the heck I'm doing. That's not gonna work, is it? It's gonna go right in your eyeballs. Let's see. I'll put it here, see how much that messes us up. Tend to forget to turn these off, and they go bad pretty fast. I'm not even sure that's helpful. Well, hopefully that won't mess you up too much. Okay, measure 13. Again, same as before. D chord, 2, 2, 0, and then again, just G chord up. Okay, now we got some new melody here, 2, 3, 2, 0. So getting that 2, you're probably going to be pulling down your middle finger to get that. Okay, and I think I have missed it plenty this week, so I'm just gonna, all I ever do when I'm for sure knowing that I want to use a certain finger on something, I'll just write a little M next to that, so that I know, hey, I'm in this G chord, but now I'm gonna pull my middle finger down there. That way I always do it exactly the same. Thanks, Vic. That way I'm doing it exactly the same way every time. I want to train these fingers to do exactly the right thing from the beginning, measure by measure. That way I'm not having to retrain them over and over and over as I find new and interesting ways that I should have done it in the first place, right? So when we play through a song the first time, we have this tendency to just grab whatever we happen to grab and, just try to get it close. And that's ultimately, that probably doesn't serve you. Going measure by measure and saying, all right, on this measure, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to pull my middle finger down, and then my ring and middle open, and then I'm always going to do it that way. That way I don't have to retrain my fingers. They know, hey, we always do it this way. We're going to continue to do it this way. I think the one thing I find in guitar and in all fretted instrument play is if I can get my hands to know what they're going to do early on in the process, it's going to make it much easier down the road. Like when I first got this piece from Christy, it was way harder than I thought at the moment when I was working on it, because I hadn't taken time to really study it measure by measure. Now that I have, it's like, oh geez, I wasted a whole bunch of time just desperately grabbing at stuff when it's actually really well thought through. All of her ideas about how to play this thing were really clean and nicely thought through to minimize my motion. Okay, so I finished 14. Now I'm still holding this, or I'm holding the G chord, right, to get in through 14. Go to your D chord and get the 5th string. Again, just to make it big. 2, O, 3, 3. You already have your 3 down. And then go grab your AO2, AOD, AOD. Okay, so that's the first thought in the song. That's it feels like, I think it's 2 verses is what it is. But it that all hangs together as one thing. Then we go back to measure 17, and again, it's sort of more of the same, so we don't have to work a ton on memorizing this section. It's basically going to be a whole lot like we've already done. So let's go from 17. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and G chord. 3, 2, O, D chord. 3, O, 2, D chord, D, open, A. You want to get the full A chord there, and then go back to the D chord again at 21, D. And this sounds weird to me. I don't necessarily know if I like the way the melody comes out here. O, 2, O, but it may be in the original, so I may just have a different ear for it. I'm fine with what's written here. O, O, 2, O, and then again, don't move your ring finger, just pull that G chord up. That happens over and over and over, so that's a great time-saving activity. The other typo, it's not necessarily a typo. On 22, the second note is a 0 by itself. It's that E note. I have deleted it. I have just taken it out. The reason it's there is the singer would go, let's see, borrow. For no one can tell. That's what the singer would go, tell, or fill, I think is the word, yeah, fill. No one can fill those of your needs. I think that's what you would do as a singer. As a guitar player, you're like, that's just another note on another string. I don't get that feeling of duh. If you were going to do that, the note's a 0 here, which is a 5 on 2. So it should, if that you're going to keep that 0, you would want to make that a 5 on the second string so that you could play, right? So you would have that bend through there. That's what the standard notation is talking about. I just think it doesn't. I don't think it's necessary. I think no one can fill those of you. Those of your. That's what I think is fine. And so I've just deleted that 0. But again, when you're trying to get fancy, that can be a way to make your presentation of it fancier. And you can look for other places throughout the piece of music that will work for that. All right, so back to 22. We're going to grab that G chord. Ignore the 0, and then you got 3, 2, O, D. Okay, 3, O, D. And then we finally have an A7. That's going to tell you the A7's we're in D, right? D, E, F, G, A. So now A is the 5th of D. They're good friends. And when you see an A7, you know that there's about to be a transition of some sort. We're either going back to the main idea or we're moving on to a new idea. And in this case, we're going to be moving on to a new idea. And then again, up to you how you do it, but I'm probably just going to add my ring finger on that 3 because I know I have a D coming after that. Let show. And just so you just have to drop from your A to down to here. Very nice little motion there to get your D chord. Now I have written pinky on 4 because I keep messing it up. So now you're going to hit 2, pinky. That's a tough one. Okay, and then right back to the D chord. Now, I asked Christy to write in the word claw. That's for me. You don't have to do that. You can continue doing whatever type of right-hand pattern you're doing, and it's fine. I asked her to write in claw because I need to remember, hey, I'm going to go to claw here. And all this week when we've gotten there, I mess it up. Okay, so I'm so worried about getting my pinky on 4 that I forget then to pull my strumming out and put my claw on here. So I'm going to put a claw on here. You can do what you want. Okay, so I've hit my 4. And now I'm going to go back to my D chord. This whole song is built off of that D chord. I'm grabbing my 0, 2, 3, and then 3, 3, 0, and then back to the chord, and then an O again. And this process here, this 4, 2, 0 D chord, happens several times in a row. So just know it, and then you can take your eyes off the paper to make sure you hit your 4 correctly. That's got to be your pinky, 4 on 4, 4, 4 on 4. Okay. And you're going to hit that one. You're already holding down the other 2. Okay, so open, and then the D chord. And again, I'm going to be clawing it, so I'm going to be going. And one of the things I've been doing all week long is pulling off this 2, and then I've been having to attack it with my middle finger because I've made a mistake. And so just memorize that with that 4, 2, 0, you're already holding down the 2, so you just got to get your pinky on. 4, 4, 2, 0, and then a nice claw on that D, and then 2, 0, and then a nice D chord, 2, 0, 3, D chord. Measure 28, you got a nice A chord, open, and D chord. And then 2, 0. Let's go to measure 29. Okay, back to the D chord. 3, 3, 0. And another 0. There's that 4, 2, 0 again. This happens 3 times, I think, and it's always the same. And then 2, 0, full D chord here, 2, 0, 3, another D chord, and then A, 0, D. And it's better if you can get down and get those 4 strings together there. Okay, whether you're thumbing it or plucking it. And you would love to get that A string involved in that moment. Hit the 0 and then D chord. And then I asked Christy, I said, hey, will you leave a note on this? And I'm going to go to the strum pattern and back to my strum. I'm going to go 2, 2, 0, lean on, and then I'm back in my strumming, 0, 2, 3. And this is the same as the beginning section, to be honest. Me when you're not, G chord, strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you. And then we got a D, O, A, right? Carry on. Go back to your D chord. 4. It won't be. Again, don't lift up your ring finger. Long. Middle finger on 2. And I'm gonna need. Then you're already holding the 2 down. Somebody to, and then grab your D chord here. A chord. Sorry, Lee, E, and then D chord. On. And again, I asked Christy to put this A7 in because it's going to send your audience a message. We're going back to the beginning. Okay, or we're going back somewhere. Something's about to happen. Okay, and then it doesn't really matter what your do here is. It's written as 2, 0, 2. All this week, it seems like every single time I've been hitting the 3rd string, 0, 2, 0. Doesn't really matter. You're just, as long as you're holding that A chord, you can hit any of those strings and it's going to sound fine. And then you're going to jump back all the way to the beginning. Okay, so we go all the way back to number 1. And how do we know we go all the way back to the beginning with number 1? Because there are no forward repeats. Okay, and so I tend to put a forward repeat when I'm doing arrangements. I have a tendency to put a forward repeat on at the beginning, just so it's clearer. But it's traditional. If you're going to go all the way back to the beginning, just don't put one on there at all. And then we, as musicians, are to assume that you don't make any typos as an arranger, but of course you do. And so I think the clearer you can make your arrangements, the better. When you guys decide, hey, I want to start arranging some of my own music. Don't start at this level, right? Start with Rajaka and then add some chords underneath it, like I did back in the day. My first arrangement was Moon River, and it was wildly inaccurate and really, really hard. It took me weeks to do it, and that's not how you should start. You should start with a very simple children's song where you know the chords, and then that gives you a chance to practice your arranging skills. It turns out it's an art form in and of itself. All right, so we've gone through the whole song. The only thing I would say when you get around the second time through and you're dropping into the second ending, it feels kind of fast to me. And so you really want to give yourself permission to take that fermata in measure 42 beyond face value. I would slow that whole section, that whole measure 42 down a lot. And if we were playing this in orchestra and we come in at 39, need somebody to lean on. And then I'd let that run for a while. And then I'd put that big chord on the end. So I think a lot of times newer musicians aren't as comfortable with really slowing down at the end. But remember, you're a solo guitarist. You can do whatever you want. And having some of these sort of traditional ways or traditional approaches to the music includes really slowing the ending down, making your audience wait for it. They know you're coming into the for your landing, and they're all excited and they're ready to give you this huge applause. Don't screw up the last chord like I often do. In this case, it's a 7, so you've got to make sure you know where your 7 is on your guitar. Okay. And this one, you really do have to have a full 5 count on your bar. Doesn't sound that great, so maybe just the bottom 4 strings. That sounds pretty good. And again, with your bar, if you've got this, that's probably okay too for now. Okay, but obviously your goal is to get them all down. And I'm noticing with these much stiffer strings thicker strings I put on here, getting a lot more pushback from them. Going to have to be a lot stronger to make it happen. Okay. All right, that's what I got. First time through, we're going to thumb it, and second time through, I'm going to claw it, except for those places where it specifically says, otherwise, I need to take notes. No, you don't. This is the notes. So I will take notes. When I hit end stream, it automatically saves it. This is your notes. I would say, Vicki, and I have the one thing I noticed from almost all the musicians I work with, they don't write enough on their sheet music. They don't write enough notes on their sheet music. I decided I'm going to postpone auditioning to get into music school until next year because I'm pretty sure that our world is in chaos, and I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want to get emotionally committed to something that's not going to happen. So I'm going to postpone it for a year. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to postpone my auditions for a year, I'm going to get out all my piano music, and I'm going to be dead solid a year from now. And I pulled out the old sonatas that I was working on and it was many years ago that I was working on them. And I literally could not tell in some cases what was the notes and what were my notes because there's just so many detailed notes I put on there as I was working on it. Hey, make sure you use your third finger here. Hey, play a little harder here. Speed up here. Slow down here. This is a G chord, even though it looks like some crazy thing that Beethoven wrote. It's just a G chord under here. And so I have all these notes on here to help me think through the music. And when I see a lot of the students that I work with, they come in, their music is absolutely as pristine and clear and pretty as the day I gave it to them. I mean, I think in some senses, I've already thought through all of the issues they're going to run into and hopefully already solve that in the sheet music. But more importantly, I think that they're just not having enough mindfulness over their sheet music. And it's not like when you're in an orchestra. Elizabeth has been in orchestras her whole life. At the end of working on the song, you have to go through and erase all of your pencil marks on your score to turn it back into the librarian. Well, you own these things, so mark them up, right? The other nice thing about marking your scores is that you're not going to play this again after tomorrow. maybe for 2 or 3 or 12 years, right? Or maybe 6 weeks or whatever. It might be a while and you might not be able to get right back to it. Well, when you do come back to it, here's all your old notes from who you were back in the day. And there's like a little love letter to yourself saying, hey, when you get to this one, make sure you leave your ring finger. Or when you get to this note, use your middle finger. And as a more experienced musician, you'll either be, oh, thank God, that's such a good idea. Or, man, I was a terrible player back then. I can't believe I would have used my middle finger at that moment. And so, Phil, absolutely, you own the sheet music. Mess it up. Elizabeth says, last chord, B string, doesn't cover no matter what. Have to press really hard. Seems harder to cover higher on the fretboard. Yeah, I would say, so what Elizabeth is talking about is we're getting down to this 7, 7, 7, 10, right? And as you're down here, it should, when we talk about what it is and what it is different for every person. It's supposed to be easier here in the middle of the fretboard because you got lots of strings on this, lots of string on this side, and lots of string on this side. So theoretically, pressing down here should be easier pressing here than pressing here. But it's not necessarily because you've got a lot more distance to cover. The strings are higher above the fretboard down here than they are here. So while this is technically harder to do, it may not be actually harder to do. And so I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the chord. I think it depends on your emotional status at the moment. It depends on how many cool bumps are starting to build into your knuckles and this sorts of things. Mine are getting terrible. And so I'd say Elizabeth's main concern here is, I don't care if it's easy or hard. I want that to go away, right? And so you're thinking about, well, can I push my bar up a little higher? Should I pull it down a little bit? Okay. And those are the first two thoughts you have is push my bar up or pull it back down. Should I put a full bar on it and then only play those 4? That doesn't work for me. So I'm going to really focus in just on these 4 strings. And of course, I'm tucking these down so you can see what I'm doing, but I would definitely not recommend that. Another thing, you've got this chord here. You're not doing anything with your middle finger. Use it to smash your bar down. Okay, there's that. And Elizabeth is talking about, hey, I play ukulele. We do bar chords all the time on there. The strings are wider apart on a guitar, obviously, and so the calluses you built up for one instrument don't necessarily transfer over to this instrument. I know mostly I play nylon string guitar, and then I have this one metal string guitar that I love playing, and I'm beginning to love playing it, but it's definitely a different experience than playing some of my other instruments, with these metal strings and having to really get after it a little bit. Okay, I think that's enough talking. All right, it's 8:30. It's time to do our final exam here. This is it. Okay, we're going to play all 3 pages. We're going to play all the way down to the bottom to measure 41. And then we're going to come all the way back, and we're going to play all the way back down to measure 42. What I would recommend is don't freak out as you're pulling up to the end of the page. I will add in, as our conductor, I have the authority to do this. I'm going to add in a little bit of time so that you have time to get your eyes oriented on the next page. Most of you are working with a moment probably at the end of page 2 where you're going to have to reach up and turn the page. Hopefully you've already thought that through. One of the things I always do when I'm playing and I know I'm going to have to turn a page, is I dog ear it a little bit. I reach up and dog ear the thing so that I can reach up very quickly and pull it over. Sometimes dog earing from the bottom is also a good, it might be easier and faster. Guitar is a problem, right? It's the same situation that violinists face. They got this violin hanging out here, and they've somehow got a bow in this end. Somehow they got to get the page turned, right? And that's why they usually set in pairs, and one person actually stops playing and turns the page. But if you're a solo violinist, you still have to get that page turned, and so you have to come up with certain things that work. The other thing, those little 3M sign here stickers, the little sticky note stickers that say sign here. You can go get those little tabs and just put them on your paper. And that way you can just reach up, grab that little thing and throw it over. And that way, hopefully you're not missing too many notes. Missing a note or two between pages is fairly normal and not something you should lose your mind about. I will give you a moment to just go ahead and turn your page. And I bought this fancy little doodaddy electronic thing. It's not a perfect solution. It's definitely not as good as regular paper. And someday I will put that on the Amazon review about this thing. This thing's fine, but when you have all this technology, of course, you've got a pretty good chance that it's going to not work, right? And so I had earlier this week, I had a situation where my foot pedal was not changing the paper. And if I was just using regular old 3-ring binder paper, I wouldn't have run into that. So I am still inclined to tell students, hey, just stick with paper. These iPad thingamabig, they just create a situation that at the moment feels cool and easier, but it doesn't give you a backup planning if some of your technology goes sour. All right, top to bottom and then top to bottom. I'm going to start the first time through on thumb, and then the second time through, I'm going to claw my way through it. The other thing is I don't really count this song. I hear it in my head, and you should be doing the same thing. You know how this tune goes. Let's see how we do. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Page, take a second to get oriented, and ready, play. Take a minute to change your page. Ready and play. A second to get there. 1, 2, ready, play. Sorry. set up and play. Take a minute. 1, 2, ready, play. Let it ring out until it's done doing its job. Especially on a bar chord down the neck, you can just let the whole guitar ring until it's done. That's it. How'd we do? I do think the arrangement's good. I think that I played it now a whole bunch of times and it's coming together. Still don't have it quite up to the speed I want. I also noticed that my rhythm in most places is not as consistent as I'd like it to be. Like a major 29, you've got might have a problem. There's a dotted 8th note followed by a 16th note. I have a tendency to ignore that, and I don't want to. I think it sounds really cool if I get it right. I just don't. A lot of times I just blast right on through it without even trying. And so that's the sort of stuff that I work on for next level stuff. Okay, I now know how to play it. I can get the song out there. If I go in and play it out, my wife will say, "That's really pretty," right? And so that's one goal. Right, is to get an audience to say, yeah, I really like that. But then there's that higher level goal where you're like, okay, this is a song I want to own. I'm going to get off the paper. It's sort of repetitive, so you can get lost in a repetitive song like this. But hopefully you come in and you say, all right, and this is going to be one, I'm going to do this one because you can do this in a lot of different situations. And it will end up being a nice tune for you, but you're going to have to memorize it, right? Once you memorize it, then you start really focusing in on those rhythm issues, trying to get them exactly what you want them to be. And they do not have to be what the original composer said. In guitar, we can be naughty and we can do whatever we want. And so if you're not doing whatever you want in guitar, you're doing it wrong. Okay? There are classical guitarists who do exactly what they're told. But for the most part, that's not how most guitarists think. Guitarists are much more independent-minded people than that. Let's see, what are the other notes? Oh, Vicky, you're getting better. That's exciting. And do know, guys, if you are either tuned in here right now or tuning in down the road somewhere and you happen to cross this video, this is kind of a popular song, so it's possible we'll get a few random people finding it. This is hard stuff. This is not a hard song overall, and based on other level 4 stuff that we've done in our group, this is definitely on the easier side of that group, but that doesn't mean it's easy. This is definitely complex, and getting everything just a certain way and making your guitar ring out and really capture the essence of the song, much more difficult than you would think. And so when you say, hey, I'm getting better at this, the fact that you can do it at all should make you super proud. So yeah, absolutely. I'm still slow getting to the G chord. Should have it in about 1,500 more reps. I think what I discovered this week, Elizabeth, and I do think it's important, you're in this D chord. In 100% of the times when we go to that D chord, that ring finger provides a really lovely pivot. And that happens 100% of the times when you go to the G chord. So all you're really needing to do is take these two guys and talk them into knowing you're going here and you're going here. And now for me, there's at least like in measure 2, you have to pull your pinky up. That's where I struggle a little bit. And getting that pinky to jump on there is where I've been struggling a tiny bit. And I would say, but talk yourself into, hey, my ring finger is my pivot to get to the G chord, and it's true in every single place on this piece of music. I think every time you go to a G chord, you're always going to have your ring finger sitting there on that note right there, ready to go. It's sitting on the C, and that's not a C. That's a D. Sitting, I'm like, that wasn't right. Sitting on that D note, and you just pivot there, and hopefully that might help a little bit. I'm the guy who fights C and G chords. C chord is my nemesis. I cannot get the C chord on to save my soul quickly. And G chord is not necessarily always particularly more friendly than C chord. I do fight the G chord a tiny bit, but C chord is the one that really messes me up. And that's why you'll see I don't spend there's a whole lot of arrangements that I put together, and not that many are in the key of C because I think it's a piano key and not a guitar key, and I'm not caving in to popular demand. All right, lean on me. I like it. Christy, if you're listening in, I know sometimes Christy listens in at work. She puts on the video but can't put on the sound because she's at work. She has a real job, which is disgusting, and so I don't always know if she's listening in or not, but I do think that this is a really fine arrangement, and I think with a couple of typos in here, other than that, it's a really, really one. So yeah, guys, hopefully that's going to be a song you can enjoy working on. Tomorrow, last day for Row, Row, Row Your Boat. London Bridge is falling down. Ginny with the light brown hair and Lean on Me. On Monday, we'll move forward. And I have Remember Me from Coco. That will be our next level 4 song. I have the ukulele arrangement of that 100% knocked down, totally done. And so once I get, it doesn't matter which instrument I arrange for first. Once I get the one done, then I know what all of the challenges I'm going to face with the other instruments, and so then I can arrange for them fairly quickly. So I'll be creating a baritone version and a guitar version of Remember Me. And guitarists, if you have not taken time to see Coco, the Disney animated Pixar thingamabopper movie about the guitar player in Spanish, or I think it's in Mexican culture, you need to go watch it. It's absolutely something you should see. It's not dumb Disney. It's good Disney. Every now and then Disney puts out something that's actually worth watching, and that's it. That's one of them. It's really a beautiful movie. It was on TV last week. Well, there you go, right? Could have seen it for free. But I know it's on all the streaming services, and it's definitely something you want to watch. A lot of times those shows are sort of dumb, and if I remember right, this has a tiny bit of a dumb ending, but not enough to ruin the rest of the show. So go watch it so that you get some context, and at the very minimum, go check out the YouTube video. Remember Me, Coco. Type it into YouTube, and you'll get it. Finally, I am making a push to get to 1,000 subscribers. I am told that once I have way more than enough watch hours for people watching these YouTube things, but I don't have enough subscribers. So once I get to 1,000, then I don't know. I guess they come over and start washing my feet or something. I don't know, but you get something special once you get 1,000 subscribers. And so I'm making a push for that. And I am being a bit advertising, I guess, about it. I want to get 1,000 subscribers, and that means I don't even care if they necessarily listen to the broadcast. Talk to people you know and say, hey, go subscribe to Gary's channel to help him out. Let's see what we can do to get to 1,000 subscribers. I think what happens is once I get to 1,000 subscribers, then all of you magically become able to play everything without having any mistakes, and that's what we want to get after. So tell people that you know that you are a fan of Gary and that you want to help him get to 1,000 subscribers. And we just need to just advertise like heck, and someone to be bugging you to bug your people to go have them subscribe. Most of you guys that are listening are already subscribed, so it's easier to subscribe, to sign in when you're subscribed. Yeah, you should be able to just log in using your Gmail address and go to YouTube, and it'll say, hey, Gary is here and he's live, and you don't have to even go through the Denver Guitar Orchestra website to find me. So, all right, so tell your friends. I don't care if they play guitar or not. Tell them to come subscribe to me because I'm just precious. I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining me. It's very exciting to have all of you guys here, and we're going to just keep playing. The truth of the matter is that they're probably not going to be able to open Grand Street as an event center probably until January. That's my guess at this point. So we got to keep playing guitar in some meaningful way. And I know not all of you are part of the guitar orchestra, but you are, might be. Who knows what's going to happen? But there's no reason to worry about whether you're an orchestra or not. It's a matter of hey, I got a good guitar. I enjoy the sound that comes out of it. I want to get a little better. And so we're going to keep this going for now until I decide that I am sick of it. But I do think I'm not getting sick of it yet, and I enjoy it. So please keep coming around, and thank you for everything, guys. I'm going to shut off the stream. I'm just babbling at this point, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for everything. I will see some of you tomorrow, and I will see some of you down the road somewhere, hopefully, and have a great evening.